Ready for your next big game? Let Ralph's help make game time a little easier. Place your order today for ready-made party platters at your neighborhood Ralph's Deli or at ralphs.com/order online. We bring in the head coach, Clay Helton, now. And, Coach, what was the decisive factor for you?
Well, I agree with JJ on a lot of it. Is just the end of the game. It started off really the beginning of the game with the 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
I thought our defense did a tremendous job of holding Utah to 10 points off of 3 turnovers in the first half, but caught up with this a little bit because they had to play 41 plays in the first half, which is a lot of plays, and just felt sick walking off that field at halftime, with a 17-10 lead going. We turned the ball over on the 13-yard line going in. We turned the ball over on the 28-yard line going in. That's at least 6 points, if not 2 more touchdowns. So, we're 17-10 at halftime. We come out. We only get 3 possessions in the second half. We go touchdown, field goal, and a punt, pin them deep. And at the end of the game, we have a 3rd and 10 and a 3rd and 15, and didn't make the play.
See, that's the part for me, coaches. I know that, the coaches always take a lot of heat. You fall on the sword all the time. I 100% get it. That's what you have to do. But the bottom line, I played, right? And if the bottom line is a player, you've got to make plays down the stretch. I mean, when you put on that USC uniform, you put on that helmet, there's a responsibility there to play and make plays down the stretch. I know that, as a coach, you have to be above that. But how much do you get on the players in terms of letting them know that this is the responsibility that you have when you play at USC?
Well, they know. They know, JJ. They know, and they put a lot of pressure on themselves. And as well as, it's our job as coaches to teach the technique and fundamentals that win one-on-one matchups. What I was inspired by, and I look at, I'm sad that we're 1-3, but I look at as a head coach, did we improve from Alabama to Stanford? Yes. Did you improve from Stanford to Utah? Yes. I thought the kids played inspired. I thought they competed. They had fun. I walked off that field. That was the most fun I've had in a long time, just being with that team and how they performed. We came up short. We came up 16 seconds short, and we got to find that last play or two that's going to turn the tide.
It was an interesting game defensively, as you guys have both sort of started on that topic, in that they came out, first 12 plays of the game, I believe it might have been more than that, they ran it right at you. And then it seemed like second quarter you sort of adjusted to that, got a hold of the game, and then in the second half it was a different Utah coming out there, and there were a lot of slants giving you problems. You had trouble getting pressure on the quarterback. What changed in the second half?
Well, I thought the quarterback got hot. It got hot, and I thought Clancy made a nice adjustment. They run the ball early. What do? You go ahead and load the box. You put your corners and safeties in man-to-man coverage, stop the run, and then make the quarterback win the game. And, he did. He got hot down the stretch, and you look at the majority of the passes that were thrown, they were either one of 2 things. They were either quick game passes where the ball was out quick where pass rush couldn't get to, or motioning the tight end back in to create a 7-man protection, a max protection versus 4-man rush, so they can get deeper throws down the field at the chains. Good game plan by them. For us, just came up short and have to make the play in the end.
I know it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback after the thought is over, but when you look back at the film, was there anything that sort of led to you that would say that, the Clancy, you, the coaching staff, should have applied more pressure? There was a couple long yardage situations that I thought were ideal to maybe put some pressure on him because he didn't throw the ball as well when his feet were moving.
Yeah, we actually had one of the third downs. We bring corner pressure. We bring a 6-man pressure, and the safety played high on the outside receiver, and they hit the change route again. So Clancy tried to mix it up, and I tell you what, for Troy, I thought Troy did a great job. He handled the pressure. He handled the zone drops. He got into rhythm and got hot, and unfortunate for us.
Yeah, we brought that play up on air, too, when you sent Biggie Marshall on one of those 3rd and longs. And how did you grade as you said, and we knew this going into the season, you talked about how the corners were going to be on islands, much more so than in previous years. How did you, grade out how they did?
Well, obviously, I know they're disappointing because they're the most competitive people you've ever seen. And at the end of the day, I'm going to trust Dory Jackson and Biggie Marshall with my life. They are talented individuals, and I know that they'll bounce back. They won battles too out there. Yep. You don't see those all the time. You just see the ones that you end up losing in the end. But we're going to go to bat with those guys every day of the week. I mean, they're talented guys. They're competitive guys. They're fighting their butts off. you live by the sword, you die by the sword. We ended up having to stop the run after the first drive, and it caught up with us in the end with some man-to-man coverage.
Obviously a play that was debatable is what do you do on 4th and 3? When you had the ball in the last drive, the only punt of the game, by the way, was the last punt. What was the thought process, the conversation during 4th and 3 to decide to punt as opposed to go over? I'm getting a lot of people that keep asking me that, so I figured I'd ask you.
Well, it was a long 3. It was a 4th and a long 3, almost 4 yards, about the 38-yard line, and you're up 3. You're up 3. If you're down 3, no question, you go right now. You go right now. If we get a little bit more favorable spot, you may go for it on 4th and 1. Right. But we have one of the best placement punters I've ever had in my career in Chris Tilby. No question in my mind he could kick it inside the 10-yard line. It was the difference between them being 30 yards from a field goal or having to get 60 yards and 6 first downs against guys that I trust on defense that have played pretty good defensive ball. It was executed perfectly. We pin them on the 7-yard line, 7-yard line, and they just happen to go 93 yards. I'll entrust our defense every time with that. If you're down by 3, you automatically go.
And you could have been in the red zone in that situation. There was a penalty that nobody noticed. The whole team, everybody had moved down the field. You were almost ready for the next play, and then all of a sudden everybody had to sort of walk back. One day, real quick, they called it illegal downfield. The guys had some questions about it in the booth. I never really saw it. What was the call in the end?
Well, in our league, you have plays RPO. We're an RPO league, which is run pass option, where you either hand the ball off or you throw quick game. We had called the same play 2 times earlier and had called several RPOs in that game, as well as Utah. On that one, for whatever reason, the line judge thought, you know what, he's down the field on that one and made a judgment call. And in our league, as a coach, you have to support their call. It was very close, but he made it.
The thing that stood out to me the most on that play, though, is I don't think anyone's really gotten to know Sam Darnold, the person, yet. And he may not be a sideline vocal leader yet. He's obviously a young guy on the team, but he was so positive in this game. And he actually, on that play, if you go back and watch it, sprints all the way back like no big deal. We'll go get it again, starts clapping at his teammates. Yeah. You've been asked a million questions about Sam and why he was so effective. What's his leadership style going to be, though? What did you see from him as a leader in that game?
Well, I think, one, he starts by leading by example and by the way he performs. And he's done that since he's been here. I mean, and you saw some of the throws that he makes, and you just go, wow. He's got elite anticipation. He's got a great eye and an elite arm. And his ability to run the ball, he's a very complete package, and the kids rallied around him.
All right, Coach. Well, that's a lot on Utah. We will maybe get into some more, but there's a big game coming up this Saturday. It never stops around here. At 4-0, Arizona State comes to the Coliseum. 5:30 kick on Saturday. The game is on Fox and, of course, right here on ESPN LA, 710. Tickets, USCTrojans.com/tickets. So we need you to come out to the Coliseum, support your Trojans, who are very happy to be home. We'll get into that next with Coach. You're listening to Trojans Live. Back on Trojans Live, Jordan Moore, John Jackson, and the head coach, Clay Helton, in for his second segment. We always appreciate the coach joining us and still breaking down that Utah game a little bit, and then we'll get into some Arizona State action as the Sun Devils come into the Coliseum this weekend. You talked about Sam Darnold as a spark, and I really think not only did he play well, he did seem to ignite the rest of the offense as well. You got a ton from the running game, particularly Justin Davis. You got your best game from Juju so far. I saw guys making catches. Yeah. Late in that game, Darius was making catches. He dropped a couple balls early in the season. He saved his quarterback in a couple in this one. It just seemed like everyone's play was lifted on that offense.
Yeah, by far our best game offensively, and it started with the run game and with the run game early. Hold on to the football, but to put 213 yards rushing out there. What did it do? It created some man coverage finally, and then all of a sudden Juju makes a long catch down the right boundary. He makes eight catches for almost 100 yards. So it opened up things for us, the balance between the run and the pass, and credit the wideouts for making their plays on a very wet day, making those tough catches, and credit our offensive line again, who by far is improving with each game and had their best game to date.
How much does Sam open up the play calling book for T in terms of number of plays he can call because of the mobility factor? It seemed like when Sam started running, Utah said, "Uh-oh, we have to defend this a little bit differently." How much did that help? The fact that he was able to run helped the play calling.
Yeah, it opens you up a little bit more, makes you a more dangerous offense. Obviously, the 253 yards passing were impressive, but what I really enjoyed was the 41 yards rushing by the quarterback and what it did for us, especially in the red zone, and to be able to look at it and all of a sudden you motioned to an empty set and you got a single receiver route on one side, a four-man screen on the other, or him with quarterback draw, and he's got the option to choose either one. And you saw two big plays. One, he fumbled. The next one, he runs into the end zone. So the ability to, as a runner, does open up the playbook for us a little bit more.
In that run game, Justin Davis really gets off to the hot start. I think he had 100 yards by halftime. You have a lot of talented mouths to feed, particularly in that backfield. What's the balance between sort of getting everyone touches and keeping everyone involved in the game plan and also feeding that hot hand?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things you look up, and I was in shock at the end of the game because you come in the second half, a few times do you only get the ball 3 times. So, we had 3 total possessions. We score a touchdown in that first drive. We drive for a field goal, and the third one's a punt. So there weren't many opportunities in the second half. And, I've said this before, it's a catch-22 because you could feed one and not feed Ronald Jones.
It's just like the receivers you were talking about last week.
And people are going to say, why isn't 25 getting the ball too? So we trust our backs, and our kids can make big plays for us. Even said where when you look in the second half, I mean, he makes a big first down run for 8 yards and then makes a huge catch on a second down out in the flat, breaks a tackle and gets a first. So those kids are having great contribution. Is there a time to go with a hot hand? Yeah, obviously if Justin's rolling, you give him a little bit more, and that's what we did. He got the most carries because he was feeling it.
Sure. Now another position group that got off to a good day was the tight ends. Tight ends were able to get the ball,
last couple
not only
games.
get the catch, but get the ball down the field.
Yeah.
I mean, now the down the field throws are happening to the tight end. Why is that opening up so much now?
Well, a little bit, as you know, JJ, is when you face cover 2 and you're clouding the outside receivers, who has the man-on-man opportunity? It's the tight end on the Mike backer. So you saw that with Taylor McNamara split in the middle of the field, and Tyler has been really effective for us in the last 2 games. But it's one of the things that when we came into the season, I thought having Tyson on board and what they did at Western Kentucky with Higbee, adding some plays that were down the field for the tight end has been real advantageous for us, and I know it'll keep on going.
Well, the reason you only got the ball 3 times in the second half was because Utah had 3 10-plus plays, 75-plus yard grinding drives, and it has been typical of the opponents you've played so far, which is funny because if you turn on the television on Saturdays, you almost never see opponents like this. You happen to have found the 3 schools that still love the power run that are left in the country. Now the schedule flips.
Ooh.
Arizona State has no interest in holding the ball for the majority of the second half. How does the challenge change now when you face an Arizona State, a Colorado, a Cal, a Rich Rodriguez? I mean, none of these guys are interested in any of that clock management, time of possession.
We're going into 4 really spread football teams that deal it around and try to go really fast to see how many plays, 80-plus plays a game. So a couple factors that you got to look at. One, your third down defense efficiency is going to be really important in this game to be able to get off the field when given the opportunity. And then the second is offensively holding on the ball control offense, frustrate them, keep it away from them. Going to be really important for us to game manage this clock and keep our defense fresh. Thank goodness we're next 4 out of the 5 games at home. It's good to get back to the Coliseum and be at home with our fans.
Well, Coach, Adoree on offense, everybody's always calling for him, he can play 100 plays, and everybody wishes he can play 150 plays. I know you have to monitor the number of plays.
Yeah.
Did the fact that the defense was on the field so much affect how much you used him on offense?
We had our biggest plan to date for him in that game, and really anticipated him being in for about 6, maybe 8 plays. And as that first drive went, and then we turned the ball over, and then we turned the ball over, and I'm all of a sudden looking at, okay, there's 30 plays right there. And I knew, I could already tell that he was a little bit winded. It just wasn't the right time. And then in the fourth quarter, just felt like, hey, we needed that second and long after the penalty happened on the RPO play, we came back and really needed to create a third and manageable, and they were playing a little bit more too high coverage, and felt like it was a neat time to be able to get him the ball on a run, and he got it to 3rd and 6 for us and picked up 11 yards.
You guys were having a conversation about short decision making earlier. Does the style of the game affect those decisions as you get into a game with a team that can put up 50 points on you and is trying to put up 50 points on you? Does it lead you to, we're going to talk to your great kicker here, but does it lead you to say, boy, I need 7s and not 3s to win a game like this, or does it not matter?
I don't know. We're very fortunate to have Matt. You look at what he's doing with field goals. I think that's part of your decision. Are you confident in your kicker? And obviously we are. He's doing a great job. I mean, both field goal kicking and kicking off.
Yeah.
He's doing unbelievable. So I think that plays into it, how much confidence you have in your kicker, and we do. Points are invaluable, and you got to add them up. And you look at where you are, I mean, on the field too.
Yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden you're sitting there at the 25, 30-yard line, and it's a 4th and 1 to 2. You're probably going to go for that instead of it's a 4th and 5, and you got a great kicker. I mean, you're going to go take the points.
Coach, everybody's been analyzing every position, pointing fingers at this position needs to play better, that position. When we talk about the defensive line, they were great against Alabama. I know Noah, you're without Noah Jefferson, so you're down with one, so down a guy. But that position group, for as well as they played against Stanford, Alabama, it just didn't seem like they had the same performance. Is there anything you can point to? I know you were able to sort of salvage that unit last year that you could point to that's not happening this year that needs to happen?
Well, I agree with you, JJ. I thought for the first couple games, I thought they played exceptionally, and we got out of a couple gaps in this past game. But overall, when you look at the first 3 games compared to last game, I thought they were effective. I look for them to bounce back in this game.
All right, last one, Coach. You've been here same amount of time I have. There have been some ups and some downs. Sometimes the Coliseum gets a little grumpy. I think that's sort of one of those times right now for the Trojan family. You sort of have a message to the fans as you now begin this home swing, and you need their help. I mean, you know how tough it is to play at places like Utah and Stanford the last 2 games. Is there sort of a message to sort of rally the troops here?
Yeah, definitely. Come support our kids. I mean, if you saw how they went to a hostile environment in Utah and competed their butts off for the Trojan family and for our football team, I was so proud of how they competed, and they're going to do the same thing on Saturday. And the fact of the matter is we're fighting, clawing, and scratching to get out of a hole, and we need all the help that we can get. And we plan on bringing the same competitiveness and the same passion that we played versus Utah to this game. And it started today out of practice. So please come support these kids. You can fuss at me. Support these kids.
You've heard it from the coach. USCTrojans.com/tickets. The game kicks at 5:30 on Saturday against Arizona State. All right.